So the past couple of months have been really rough for the job market. People are getting fired left and right. Tech giants have already laid off thousands of employees, and it's not over yet. As we move ahead in 2023, it is expected that businesses will continue to fire people, and this wave of layoffs will spread beyond the tech sector. Now, if you're someone who's already been impacted by these layoffs, or you fear that you might get laid off in the near future, see, I understand it's tough, but I'm here to tell you that you really shouldn't worry too much. Now, in order to understand why you shouldn't worry, you need to understand why these layoffs are happening in the first place. So let's get started. Businesses flourish when it's easy for them to borrow money. In other words, there is availability of cheap debt. Cheaper debts encourage businesses to borrow money and then use that money to expand their horizons and hire more people. But when is debt cheap? So broadly speaking, debt is cheap when the interest rate set by an economy's central bank is low. Now, back in 2020, when the COVID pandemic hit, the US government and Fed adopted two major steps to deal with the stagnated economy. One, they dropped the interest rate to practically zero, and two, they printed a lot of money out of thin air and dumped it into the economy. This is also known as quantitative easing. Now, these two steps, combined with the exploding demand for tech products during the work from home era, caused the companies to hire aggressively and sometimes even at wildly inappropriate compensation packages. And just to give you an idea, in 2020 and 2021 alone, Amazon hired over 500,000 new employees. Now, printing money is the easiest thing that governments and central banks do in order to cruise through tough economic situations. But the problem with quantitative easing is that if it's not done carefully, it can prove to be a very unsustainable method of driving an economy. You see, printing more money leads to rising incomes, which leads to more spending by people. And since one person's spending is another person's income, it leads to rising total income in an economy. Now, what's so bad about rising total incomes? What's bad is that this new money that people are making and spending did not really exist in the first place. It was printed in order to boost a slowed down economy. Also, whenever there is a rise in spending without a commensurate rise in production and manufacturing, it always leads to a rise in prices of goods and services, or in other words, inflation. Now, inflation is a bad thing. I'll make a separate video on that as well, but for now, just remember that small amounts of inflation can actually help drive economic growth, but high inflation is always disastrous for an economy. So how to bring inflation down? Make debt costlier. In other words, increase the central bank interest rates. This is why central banks in many countries have been hiking their interest rates these past few months. And until their inflation is under control, they will keep doing it, making debt costlier and causing a reduction in borrowing by the businesses. This forces the companies to cut costs, and because they hired so aggressively when things were good, they now have to fire aggressively when things are bad. So from an economic standpoint, you need not worry. Such economic events always occur in cycles. Right now, the central banks are increasing the interest rates in order to bring inflation down, and it has already started to come down. Now, whenever inflation is under control, what do you think will happen? Central banks will again reduce the interest rates. They might even print more money in order to boost a slowed down economy. And as soon as that happens, debt will become cheaper, and a period of recession will turn into a period of expansion, and companies will start hiring again. Instead of worrying about the layoffs, focus on the long term. You see, there will come a time of rehiring, and when that happens, people with stronger core competencies will have an edge. So whichever industry you're working in, make sure you keep yourself upskilled. Also, avoid any big expenses for now. Save up your money and maybe invest in some of the beaten down tech stocks. You see, tech is the future, so these stocks will rise again. Now, if you do get laid off, try to negotiate your exit compensation. And also, never ever end things on bad terms. There have been so many instances of people getting rehired by the same company when things got better. So if you think you were good at your job, make sure your exit is graceful. If you liked what you saw, please express it by hitting the like button. I'll be making more videos like this in the coming time, so please make sure you subscribe to my channel as well. I hope you have a great day and a bright future. Thanks for watching.